All right, everybody, I really appreciate y'all making it down from Topgolf. I know that was a great morning to start us off. Johnny had a great time. I got some good video, by the way, of you working that one hand. It was pretty impressive. We've got a great afternoon starting on, well, we're starting and ending with Walker Sahag, but we're starting off right now. She's got all of the good wisdom for us. I don't really need an introduction for Walker. Y'all all know her. We're just thankful she's back in Mississippi, back where she started, making things happen. Walker Sahag, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, good to be home. I think the last time, Dave, I was in here, I was giving a presentation and Devin was 11 and we were on that court and I was giving a presentation on serve. So things never change. The thing that I'm talking about in this first presentation is really, I titled it, raise my rider for all the fancy titles. Air Superiority, the secret to winning the war on court. Before you can win on the battle off the ground, you have to win the battle in the air. And really talking about overheads and serves. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, we used to be a throwing nation. We used to be a throwing state. And growing up in Oxford with Archie there, I'll guarantee you, every boy, every girl, heck, half the dogs in town were named Rebel, and I think they could all throw a good sparrow. You know, everybody knew these skill sets, and it is shocking today to see where we're starting without having basic throwing skills. This is, and basic weight exchange skills. So now I find, and this is, I was just talking with somebody else, that we're starting at Cleon, we were starting at a level that's so much lower than we've ever started before. So due to that, what I'm really teaching now is how do I go back and get these basic skills that our kids are not getting in PE. And I mean, because if they don't get it, it's not going to work. It was interesting, being at the Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy and being the director of high tech, I had the opportunity to communicate with a lot of the top international coaches. They would come into my office, say what's happening with sports science, and I had a chance to talk with them. And France, their women's tennis had completely declined. And they had hired an Aussie by the name of Gail Sharp to come in and turn around their women's tennis program. And her first philosophy was about serve and return. She started every single drill with a serve. And I'm thinking, oh Lord, I'll never get to an approach shot. I'll never take him at a volley. I mean, but it was very convicting talking to her. However, her role model was the United States because we produce the best servers and the best throwing motions. So she started all of the girls, the high-level girls in France throwing football. And out of that, that's the group that you would see with Sandrine Testude, Natalie Toziat, Dumageau, Mauresmo. It was an amazing group that she turned everything around with. So now I always feel that if you come with two things, I can teach you a really good serve pretty quickly. But if you're missing those two things, now it's going to be a long process. And the first is, do you have a good throwing motion? And second, do you have a good vertical leap? If you have those two things, we can pop it off real fast.
What was the second one again? I'm sorry.
A good vertical leap. So if you really have those two things, it's pretty easy. However, that's not what I'm getting. And, you know, again, you see Azarenka warming up with a football. You see all these kids who are doing this, and so I ended up having to teach, you know, so many girls how to throw, but now I'm having to teach the boys how to throw, and that's really sad. Ray, my husband, did this great thing for my birthday. He got us a throwing lesson with an NFL quarterback. I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. I think he wanted it as much as I did, so it was great. And you know the crazy thing is, we both learned how to throw a football the same way. There was a little pamphlet of Johnny Unitas, and we both had the same pamphlet and read it as kids. But now I got the Uptown 2.0, latest NFL version. So Bubby Brister came out. His kid was actually playing quarterback across the street from our apartments, and he came out and taught us how. So we're going to start with how do you start to develop a good throwing motion. So Ward is going to be helping me. Ward, come on out. And Ward's a brave man. So here's what I'm going to be looking for. And I love these new footballs I just got. First of all, I'm obviously having to start them with the grip. And the new quarterbacks are really starting with their finger way up here on the tip of the ball, always having that gap right here. Looking for the arm at a 90-degree angle and 90 degrees here. Starting with the tip of the ball pointing straight at the target. And then when they turn, now the elbow is pointing forward and the opposite tip is pointing. So it's from here to here, and now I've built a catapult. And in building the catapult, I'm using the triceps and letting it roll off my fingers. So Ward, just cruise on over there. You take a step back. So we're just starting, and I'm going to start with these kids. And look, most of you are very good with this, so I'm going to start and go very quickly with the process, but I'm just helping y'all to start to understand where am I starting here with these kids. So I'm really looking to see him stay away from his body. Now they're, you know, used to be in so much more. Tip of the racket, tip of the ball here to the butt of the ball, and then release. So from here to here to here. One of the things you're going to see the kids try and bring their hand in real tight and away and in, but instead here, and I'll go slow, have them stop here, and then start to show how it goes from this point to this point to that point. Good. Now, the next thing I'm going to be working on is their left hand. How do they start to use this left hand? And it sweeps open. So whenever you see a baseball pitcher, you see this stacks on top of this. And now we're starting to evolve. How do you get that shoulder turn and that left hand? Good. Now, as I'm doing that, I'm going to start to get these cute little things. Now, when I grew up, they were called Lazy Susans, but I don't ever call that anything lazy on my court. So I just call them twisty things. Ward probably doesn't even know that at some point they were called Lazy Susans, but I'm not going to tell him. So shh, don't tell him. And we're going to start again. Now, what am I working on? I'm having him start straight ahead. And I'm starting with how does he start to engage his core and his hips to start to twist, and that the beginning is happening right here from the hips and now getting the rotation. So Ward, we're just starting right there, getting that twist. So I have him actually facing straight ahead. Now again, see, he's starting to bring it in really tight right there and a little too close. And you'll see the ball spray off in that direction instead of being here. And I just want to see a twist, twist. So twist, twist, release. Twist, twist, release. Twist, twist, release. There we go. All right, I'd keep his elbow, all this a little bit more parallel to the ground, but twist, twist, release. Twist. And I'm going to go super fast today because I always want to give you as many tools to work with as possible. So okay, a little bit more of a 90 degree, it was better. Here we go, right out there. Bump, bump, bump. Bump, bump, bump. Good, how about a left arm? Do you have a left arm? Okay, so we're just going to start here. Good. Okay, good. Keep enjoying that. All right, now, once I start getting him there, can you show me, I have a little weight up here on the top of that racket. Can you show me that same thing? So What we're going to talk about is separation angle. When I get him to start to twist, I am starting to get him what sports science is going to call a separation angle. The shoulders are more rotated than the hips, are more rotated than the feet. That's why I have him starting straight ahead. That he starts to engage the beginning of this stroke from the hips, then the shoulders right here, and he's starting to feel how does he create torque. So show me just use twisting back, just like we were doing, so we're just thinking overhead. So I'm starting with an overhead motion because now twist back, elbow, and then finish over here. Do it again. Yep, twist. And now when you see a good server, you're going to see this racket swing slightly outside of his hand, right here on edge, and now he's built this catapult pull. So everything we're working on right here is how does he start to engage, create torque, use that, and now pull, okay? So now when you do that, can you go ahead and let the shoulders come on around and finish a little bit more? There you go. So let me just hear the whiz through the air. And again, what I find is with teaching the football and teaching a good throwing motion, you would be shocked at how many of the kids, keep going, how many of the kids are really thankful. It stuns me. I had a boy the other day who was like, thank you so much. I have two of them. They didn't know how to throw, and as part of their peer group, they feel inadequate. And so when they come back and they start getting skills that they can fit in, the girls are thrilled. They would rather do that in their lessons than anything else. Good. Let me hear a little bit more whiz. So how are you going to generate, how do you generate a little bit more of that whiz? Okay, when you start, let's don't start too awkward. We're just going to start, just right there. There you go. All right. Ward, why don't we go get your racket? Oh, here we go. Give me that one back. Go, run. Go, 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 go. All right, here we go. Yeah, all right. So show me what you were doing right there. One of the reasons, good. One of the reasons I would start with the overhead is, to me, the overhead is a great innocuous way to work on a serve. It's something I can make changes, I can help them, and they don't feel like I've messed them up, So now I can already start developing grips, I can start doing all those things correctly. Let me see again. All right, do it again. Boom. All right, here we go. Here we go. Everything we're working on is, again, how does he evolve good balance, that separation angle, how does he create torque, and once he starts getting more comfortable with that, now I'm going to go ahead and move it a little bit more to what would be a service stance. So I'm moving it to what's now a service stance, but I started with him really starting to understand how to engage his lower body. This is where the sequencing isn't being taught. You have kids, when they haven't learned to throw, they haven't learned basic weight exchange skills. It's Charles Barkley trying to hit a golf ball. He learned to just pull his feet up and push up. That was all his skill set. Basketball is not a weight exchange sport. But when I grew up, most of the guys lettered in 3 or 4 sports. You played football in the fall, you played basketball in the winter because it was cold, and then you played baseball and or track in the spring. And everybody could take a basketball and chuck it down the court because they all learned how to throw. Now you're getting these isolation skills with soccer, with basketball, where they don't learn weight exchange. So they don't learn the proper sequencing of how does a throwing motion happen. This is what we're working on right here with Ward. Is that too wide? You want it a little narrow? Is it good? Okay, all right. So show me the same thing. Okay, it doesn't have to go that far back. We're just going to have a little twist, start, twist, and now the emphasis is on coming back forward. So if you think about a dog and a tail, the dog wags the tail doesn't wag the dog, hopefully, all right? And you're starting, this is the dog, this is the tail. Whatever this does, it drives this. For you not to teach this, there's no way to understand what this does. It is merely the end of the whip. So as you start, you engage from here. Now the hand starts back. The hand's still going back. And then you break the inertia and the lower body starts coming forward, and now you get that release of the whip. So now we're working on him starting to understand how this kinetic chain works. I watched Jalen Hurts warm up the other night. They had a big medicine ball, and he was, boom, working the same thing of how do you start to understand weight exchange. This is basic athletic skills. Let me see again. Yeah, don't go too far back. All right, yeah. Now accelerate, forward. Yeah, let me hear a big whiz. That's it, let me hear the whiz. So I'll have him really emphasize the whiz, because if you think about a spinning top, once it gets off axis, it doesn't spin as fast. Every time I start giving him the weighted racket or ask for the bigger whiz, he's learning the proper accelerators, and he's learning how, you'll see his axis go from wobbling, a kid's to all of a sudden get that tight axis. Think about Drew Brees throwing a pass. I mean, this stays quiet. You watch a little kid, they're like, ew, and it doesn't go anywhere. This is part of what he's learning. And again, with the little twisty things, I can force him to work balance. Okay, I'm going to let you go ahead. Start from here. Yep. So I could feed for him, or I can, go ahead and let him start to do it. I'm doing this again because I want to give y'all as many different ways that we start to evolve these skills and start to build this sequencing of lower, upper. How does he start to get so that he can understand what is the proper kinetic chain and how does it work? I really like right here, you can hear it, you can see it. Bump, 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 bump. Keep exaggerating that word. That was really nice. So now I'm going to take away your little twisty things. You were looking so good. Now I take them away from you. Okay. Can you show me that same thing in an understanding of lower, upper, lower, upper? Yeah, it doesn't have to go too wild. We don't have to lift the elbow too much. Yeah, there you go. All right, here we go. There you go. Again, the thing was, how do we build a good throwing motion? How do we build the understanding of the kinetic chain? And this is where I feel like we've had to get to starting now as tennis pros, since PE is failing us. We've become the PE instructors. And now this is the things that we're having to do. Come on up here. That was a good job, Ward. All right, whoa, stop. There's another aspect of directions that I want him to be able to move in, which is going to be, how is he going to have the leg drive up? So I'm looking again, how does he get the sequencing of lower, upper? How do I teach a little kid the sequencing? You know, you're telling them step in, step with this foot, put little, you know, bunny rabbit ears on one shoe, whatever you can think of. I find that really the easiest way to do this is to have him start right behind this, just step up on this box, and now he can feel how the kinetic change starts to drive up. You're not pulling down. I shouldn't tell you don't pull down on an overhead. There's no pulling. We're all talking about how well do you drive up into the overhead. Feeling your hips drive up into the shot. So now I'm exaggerating that motion of his ability to go here and have the hips start to drive up into the ball. Can you just show me that right there? Yeah, starting right behind it. And now step up. Yeah, you stepped a little early. Step. There you go, good. Good. Now, Ward, are you a certified box jumper? Do you have a box jumping certificate? Then don't go jumping around my box. So if I feed a ball that isn't exactly where you want it, just swing it midair, but don't go jumping around. Otherwise, my box will bite you. Okay, so I'm just saying. All right, so we're going to sit there and we're going to work on that just for a minute. And I'll start over here to the side and just start this way. And let's start to look at what, there you go. Feeling the leg drive up and feeling how this connects. And we're going to talk more about, yeah, the connection here. One of the things I think it's an easy misconception to have is when the legs drive up, that's actually when the racket goes down. As he's starting, can you hang on to that? Okay, let's go where you were. Okay, so remember where you were right here and stepping up? Yeah. Dave, I'm sorry I put clay on your court. Forgive me, Dave. All right, step up. No. Mm-mm. When you go up, go up. This is actually where this goes down. So now this is the stretch as he starts to feel. So start down here. And as he starts to go up, this is the drive of it going down. And now pull, up. There you go. And let it turn over. Here. There you go. Let it turn over, rotate. We're going to get that. So we're going to engage this right here. There you go. Up. There we go. And even using this weight on the racket, he'll help him feel that a little bit more. So let me see. You should be relaxed. Relaxed, all right? That's the end of the whip. Again, how when you go up, you see good players, that's a little late. Yeah, it should have happened. When you start to push, that's when this is going to be going down. Yeah, and now it's going to snap on up. There you go. That's it. Again, here's the problem. How do we build the power? We've got to build the power by understanding the sequencing. And you can see where his is a little off. You go watch Boris Becker, some of these guys, you'll see, when you watch him right here, the tip of the racket, now that it's weighted and he's getting more relaxed, it's almost mid-thigh. So this is where the leg drive adds power into your serve, into your overhead, is it's actually giving you a longer on-ramp to build speed. So instead of it being shallow when they're here and they're driving, now I'm going to get this big on-ramp to build up to speed. And he's got to figure out the sequencing that works together in the kinetic chain. And everything I'm trying to build here is, how does that work? You see these kids who show up and somebody told them back scratch your position and they start from here. It's like, no, it's passive. This is a function of this. And the movement, it never actually touches your back. The centrifugal force, as I start to rotate, actually throws it out away. It's not coming in. You wouldn't want somebody to start at the bottom of the roller coaster. Think about how many times a trophy position, every photograph is from here. This is the top of the roller coaster. Then the racket starts to drop in and accelerate. There's a really great study, and I'll have to pull it up for you. But for Pete Sampras, the beginning of his serve, it's moving about his hand and his racket's moving about 5 miles an hour. It gets to the top of the trophy position, it's moving 5 to 10 miles an hour. By the time it hits up there, it's doing 90. So when it hits the bottom of the loop, it's doing 30. From here to here, it accelerates to 90. And so how in the world would you actually get that acceleration? It's not a jerk. It's a progressive multiplication of what's going on. And this is the sequencing that he needs to improve. Let me see again. It worked. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I want to hear the nice whiz. Yeah, and it's very important where I hear the whiz. It's not about him pulling down. I want the whiz right up there at the top. Okay, I'm taking that one away. You can have this one. Here we go. Now, if you're going to do this one, like I said, I'm very particular about the safety. But two, I am very particular about the feeding. Usually I'll have a little bit bigger box, but that's my travel box. All right, Ward, show me what you're doing. Yep. And a lot of times I might have him shadowing a few times because I'm measuring where I've got to feed this, okay? All right, here we go. Love you, Ward. All right, here we go. Show me again. That's it. Just easy, 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 easy. Sorry. Bad. Here we go. Been a while since I've been indoors. There you go. That's it. So you can start to see these are the tricks that I'm using to try and help him develop the proper sequencing. Starting with an overhead, there's a lot more I would talk about an overhead, a lot of ways I develop an overhead, but I really want to get to helping y'all as far as serve. One of the things that always interests me and intrigues me is this motion produced in other sports. So you might look at squash. You might look at, we had a professional beach volleyball player that I was teaching who was like 6'7". His arm speed over the top here was insanely fast. It was one of the fastest, and I've been on courts where guys are serving over 140. His arm speed, I don't think I've seen that kind of arm speed. But then you get to the Olympic badminton. Have you seen those guys? That is so cool. I want to do that. Do you know that the fastest with the Olympic badminton, the fastest these guys with the professional badminton, they are hitting at 300 miles per hour. The top clocked one was 306. I have it on my phone. It's like amazing. So what models are they using? Because I'm thinking, wow, okay, they know something I don't know. How are they doing some of these things? What models can I learn from them to start to develop a better serving motion? Because I think when I start seeing that, I wonder, have we even begun to top out? You know, what is really possible? And I have one. Ward, you got your sweatshirt on. Yeah, okay. Oh, well, that's all right. Yeah. All right. This one is really fun. Yeah, take it off for one quick second. This one, I didn't tell him, okay. This one's really fun. Here's one of the, if you're starting with some developmental players, I got a 1. So I put a nice little 1 on him there. I got a 2. So I got a nice little 2. I got a 3. All right? I think this one's fun. I mean, it's fun for the kids. So easy to do. All right, grab your racket. 1, 2, 3. Let me see that again. Look at it. Yeah, look at it. So, da, da, da. I was like, I gotta use that one for some beginners. All right, you can put your shirt back on if you're cold. Now to the more sophisticated stuff. Bruce Elliott is such a great, scientist for the sport of tennis. And he talks about 4 ways that you move the racket up to the ball. 4 ways that you move the racket up to the ball. So here's the question. How do you move the racket up to the ball? And that's what we're going to start with right here. The first, and he's going to talk about it as far as elbow extension, but really what you're talking about is, as Ward was starting right there, here you go, Ray. As Ward was starting right there, in this trophy position, the tip of the racket is forward and the elbow is back. The tip of the racket is up and the elbow is down. The next move is to actually flip those 2 things. Now the elbow is forward and the racket is back. The elbow is up and the tip of the racket is down, and that's how you built that catapult. How do you move the racket up to the ball? Remember, that's the question. So starting right here, I'm starting the tip of the racket is up, the elbow is down. Now we're flipping that so that the elbow is up and the tip of the racket is down. Forward, back. Forward, back. And now that he's built this catapult, and you can almost see it start to line up, he's got the elbow pointing up at the ball, the butt of the racket pointing up at the ball, and now pull up. There you go. So how does he work from here to here to here? So just start right there, Ward, and let's just do that. A lot of times as I'm doing it, I'll have the players try and sequence that, because I'll be working a lot with, okay, first Ward, let's just go back to front. And notice something had to happen for him to be able to go back to front. This drove the hip, drove the elbow. And you'll have kids start and try and do this, and if he keeps this heel on the ground, he can't get this to move forward. So many of these slice serves that your kids are starting with, their racket is stuck here. The elbow hasn't moved all the way forward, or they pulled it in really tight right here. Now the only direction they can swing is that way. They can't be accurate. Go ahead and turn the heel. And now line it up, and now everything's pulling in a straight line. I used to practice my serve, and I'm thinking, how in the world do those pros hit it that straight and that accurate with that kind of bounce? I mean, I could have practiced my serve forever. It wasn't going to work that way. But when you start to learn these moves, now it starts to make sense. I've lined this whole thing up. It's a straight line. They're going through it in a straight line. One of our pros was talking about watching Pete Sampras and Andre one day practicing their serves at Bollettieri's, and they were aiming at quarters. I know, exactly. Yeah, that wasn't me. Okay, let me see. Let me see. What are you doing? All right, that. Da, da. Good. All right, here we go. We're going up at the ball. Okay. Elbow. Okay, so first thing I want is you really working back to forward. So we're going to focus on how does it go back to forward. Just take your time. Okay, back, forward. Good. So I like the fact it was broken. I had him break the sequencing so that he can stop and really look at this and see if he's getting it right. I don't want him doing it perfectly. I want him to take the time. Show me back, forward, hit. That's it. So I'm tossing it a little higher to give him that time. Back, forward, hit. Good. Back, forward, hit. So he can see, is it really working? Because again, a lot of kids will get stuck here. They don't really get it rotated forward. I have some great clips on my phone of John Isner's big serves and where his elbow is. All right, now down to up. Yeah, okay, so it's down here. So we're down, and now where's it going to go? It's going to point up. So to do that, this hip is going to have to go up here. This is part of people flipping over. You can't get a great serve without understanding the motion comes from your back. Watch any baseball pitcher, any quarterback. What's the first thing you do when you start to throw? You flip over to your back. You actually throw from your back, not from your front. When you're in the weight room, you're lifting weights. This is all the front. You get to here, you flip, and now you're driving from your back. This part of the motion is the front. When they get to here, you see them flip to their back, and now you're using these large muscles. So now, how do you get the elbow to move from down to up? So now he's got to learn to get that inversion, the head up and back, and go up. Okay, good. So we're just going slow. Boom, boom. That's it. Down, up. That's exactly what I wanted. Down, up, boom. Down, up, boom. That's it. Okay, so the second one is going to be flexion. This is the smallest contributor to how does the racket move up to the ball. And it really is going to be so much about right here, how do you release the racket head? A continental grip is always designed as a hammer grip. how do you pivot or spin the racket around an axis? You'll never see a good server with their hands parallel to the grip. It's always at this 45. And you know when you're at a bicycle and you have the hand brakes on a bicycle and you kind of have it open and you squeeze the brakes with your pinky? Just start right down here, Ward, and just show me how you would just flick and release that tip of the racket up. Now let's add it into that motion and just relax and let it just snap up into it. Yeah, exactly. Do it again. Here, just let it snap up. So look at that little gap right there to open. And Ward, you're good enough. I'm going to let you toss for yourself right there. Yeah. So again, his finish came out here, but you saw him stay with the racket so much in here. He didn't really get around to here to up. Okay. Just sitting there, just feeling how do you move the racket up to the ball? Okay. How do we get that elbow back to forward? Okay. Then we're going to add a little bit. Feel it again, feel it again. I want to hear that racket just snap up into the ball. Yeah, relax. Yeah, do it again. Do it again. So he has an awkward thing here where it's not really right here on edge. His is curled in right there, and we want to make sure it's coming up on edge. Can you do that again? Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Just have fun with it. Just relax. There you go. How do you move the racket up to the ball? So the first, we talked about the elbow moving back to forward, down to up. The second, we talked about the flexion. But the third one is really fun. The third one, we're going to be talking about the pronation, which he needs a lot of help with. Okay, we're working on your pronation. And we're just starting with the racket right here on edge, and now we are rotating 180 degrees to here. This rotation is clearly a big unit of power. We're going to talk about how it builds into bigger units, but clearly a big unit. So a fun way for the kids to work on this is we're just starting here. So start with it on edge. I'm very interested in your technique, that you give me good mechanics. And we're going to finish with it there. Now, Ward, you get to cheat. So let's stand one more with your serve stance. Here to there. So now you get to cheat. We're going to be volleyball players. We're spiking this thing down into the court. Okay? Here, when you finish, I want the elbow up, the butt of the racket up, the white meat pointing out in that direction, palm out in that direction. There you go. The Pete Sampras Turn-A-Grip package, okay? For all of y'all who remember those. Okay? So we're building that speed. I need to build that internal rotation right here. Now, there you go. Come on. They got a pretty new roof up in here. I remember when it had all the holes in it. Yeah? I'm really interested in seeing. Now for my college players, there you go. My college players, we're against that fence, and after the second bounce, that's it. They're putting it over the far fence. I have a few guys who I'm having to aim 2 courts down, and they're putting it over the lights. The speed that we want to build, and I'll let you now start here and see if you can, but again, we're not doing this. It's very important you're working in this direction. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Back up a few steps. Back up a few more steps. All right, now can we use the abs? Can we kind of stretch back and give me a crunch and really put it into the court? Oh, come on, put it down in the court. Put it straight in front of you. Spike that thing. Have fun with it. The kids love these drills. I mean, it's a fun way, but again, when watching other sports, what all can we do to start to evolve and build better racket head speed, better power? One of the biggest things over the last decade, I think, that I've really learned about tennis and stroke production is that so much of it is about axes. With the serve, you're really working on how well do you move the tip of the racket around the hand. It's not about this long motion here. It's really, this is the new ATP forehand. The hand movement is so small, and you're learning to accelerate the tip around the hand. That's really what's happening here with the serve, is how well do you accelerate the tip of the racket? Think about with a whip. That little cracker on a whip, it is breaking the sound barrier. It's going at 700 miles an hour. Your hand is not going at 700 miles an hour. So how did you get that to snap? And here I want him learning, how does he accelerate the tip of the racket around the hand? I've learned right now he's doing it, and this is what he's looking like. I have him, Ward, this is you, you're a little skinny, eat more, all right? But he's now practicing how to do this in that contact point. So he's making the ball here. But now we're going to back up behind the baseline, and I want him to see, can he make the same motion with his hand from this position? More like a header in soccer. Now he's putting that ball back over his head, so come on back here. And all I want you to do, and again, for developmental kids, just to see that one motion. You have kids who can't get the ball over the net, and I want the ball, when it leaves your racket, to traject upward. That the understanding, you can easily bounce overheads. For everybody in this crowd, you can probably, everybody in here can easily bounce overheads over the net, over the fence, by just this one little piece of motion that so many of the kids are so poor with. But now you're starting to see, okay, this is how this works. Cool. So this is the pronation, that understanding of your movement of your racket, of your hand from right to left. And believe it or not that you would ever design yourself this way, but you actually meet the ball slightly more to the inside of the racket because it's moving faster, just for your sports science knowledge. All right, we were up here. We had 4 things. Number 1, the elbow, how it moved. Number 2, the flexion, how do we move the racket up? Number 3, we added the pronation. Do you know now I've been holding out on you? Because I haven't talked about the biggest power contributor here. Now we get to the real stuff. All right, everybody stand up for a second. Stick your arms out. This will feel so good. We're going to do it this way. We're going to go rotate it this way, and then rotate it that way. And then rotate it this way. That is internal rotation. This is external rotation. Doesn't that feel good? I just do it because it makes me feel better. Internal rotation, external rotation. All right, have a seat. Turns out the reason that we can throw balls at 100 miles an hour, the reason we can serve 150 miles an hour is that motion right there. 40% of your power is coming from that. That's what this whole throwing motion was about. Is you are starting here quarterback, pitcher, server, with your bicep internally rotated. It externally rotates. And then it rapidly internally rotates. That stupid arm, that shoulder motion right there, every time I see it written, I go back, triple check myself, because I cannot believe that this is correct. But I've seen it in sports science shows, I've seen it, again, Bruce Elliott, every single one. 3,000 degrees per second. That can't be. Dave, did you do that?
Mine was only 25.
Well, Drew Brees is 27 when he's throwing a football, so you're right there, man. 3,000 degrees per second. How fast? I mean, that's insane. Cars can't do this stuff. So it turns out they did a study recently for the Olympics with the serving, that this is rotating 170 degrees for most of the good servers. So it's rotating 80 degrees back from vertical and 90 degrees forward. And it's generated primarily with your leg drive and your shoulder drive. So start right up here. So remember what we were doing? Here's what we're really doing. We're starting with the bicep forward. This is external rotation. That's rapid internal rotation. Ward, can you just think about how you're going to move the racket up to the ball using that? Yeah. This is the secret. This is what throwing was all about. Now, when you saw when he finished, how much he used his back, his shoulders. This right here, these are the big guys. This, if you're sore from serving, it should be right back here in the shoulder blade. You should never be hurting this and this. It's not coming from there. Think like a swimmer. And you'll see how them with this arch in their back right here. He is now contracting these abs, and he's working right there and accelerating that. Can you do that again? That looks so nice, Ward. That's also one of the big key contributors in understanding of the new ATP forehand. It is how you move this in a dynamic, plyometric fashion. Another way that I'd really work with it, and again, I'm rushing because I want to make sure that we get as much in possible. Put your racket down. And let me come get some more toys here. We need more toys. 5 minutes. Okay, got it. Perfect. All right, back on up. Watch that racket. So I have a couple of little weighted balls here. And again, I have to teach them how to hold a baseball. You know, what are you doing as far as throwing? But again, what are we doing? We're here. You better be watching. Right there. All right, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I want you to go ahead, tuck the left hand in to this left side. Let that right shoulder come on through. Don't stop there. Okay, boom, boom. There you go, that was beautiful. Do that again. Use that left hand. Good. All right, one more. Now, Ward does not typically, don't pull it in too tight. That's when it starts spraying out on you. Keep it right here. Ward typically does not have a backswing. He starts with more the anti-erotic motion. But yeah, we don't need your racket. But if I want to teach him a simple backswing, Ray and I were sitting out one day, we're driving by on Lakeland Drive, and we see the Jackson Generals warming up. 20 guys out in the parking lot. Don't ask me why they warmed up in the parking lot. I have no idea, but they were. They're out there throwing, and I'm thinking, there's 20 perfect serving motions. And they're here, and they're just kind of taking a nice little backswing here. Boom, boom. So with this weighted ball, the first thing I want, Ward, is for you to just understand this pendulum. So the elbow is the axis for the pendulum. Yeah. So just show me right there with that weight. Just let that be the axis. Yeah. So Chris Everett couldn't break an egg with her serve. She was taught down together, up together, and she thought this was the axis. So now when she made this the axis, the elbow was too high. She could never go up with the elbow and build that speed. Instead, everything was too high too early. So this is actually the pendulum, not this. Yeah, so just let it come back here. And now we're going to go ahead and throw. So I can teach very simply. Here you go. A nice serve, and as you do it with the weight of the ball, just go ahead and start getting that weight over here on this right leg. There you go. Because the weight actually starts to teach you, and you should, when serving, you should have at least 60% of the weight on that right leg. Go step, throw, not throw, step. Step, throw, okay? Here we go. Step, throw, good. That's it. Let that right shoulder come on around. So again, here's how we're developing this serving motion. Then, and lastly, I'll put them on the other side of the fence. It was great when we were teaching recently at a high school. We had a 3-story building next to us. So I had the kids trying to throw over the fence and see how high they could throw it up on the 3-story building. But I have a much lighter ball now. And Ward, you might want to come up here. And I want to see, you're throwing Ray, can you catch? You're throwing pop flies to the outfield. So now I want to see how much can you throw that vertical. There you go, beautiful. Take a few steps back so you don't, yeah. We should be okay. That's it. Okay, so here's your racket. Where's your racket? Go grab your racket. And just having him do that, now we've started to teach him to load this back leg, again, 60% of the weight, how to flip over and now drive up and have his motion extending up. Show back on up to the baseline. Show me a nice serve. Where are you aiming? Where? At what? Okay. So we're going to tilt back, look up. So this is going to come up under you, and you're driving up. Again, how does he get that flip? How does he learn to get the hips under him? It's almost like doing the worm. Everything, that's where you're going to get that stretch. You'll always see a player, they look like they have a string attached to their chest and it's being pulled up. I used to think, look at the ball. They told me, look at the ball. So I have a hat on, I'm turning the hat the other way so I can look up at the ball. I'm trying everything I can. That's not what tour players do. Tour players, their eyes are still straight ahead in their head. But now they've flipped over so that their whole head is going up. They're literally laying on their back, driving this up at the ball. And to do that, this came under you. One more little piece of that. When you start here, if I want you to externally rotate this, when you see a good player, this arm will actually be below their elbow. I can't do that statically. But if I do this and flip over, now I get so much more stretch and drive up. So everything that we're working on, is how does he start to be able to flip over, to learn to drive up. How do we draw in what's going on? I think he could have a lot better pronation right there, but I'm kind of picky. All right, good job, Ward. Big hand for Ward. He's brave. Again, my biggest point is, unfortunately, we've now become the people who have to teach these skills. They're not getting them. And hopefully what I've done today is give you more tools in how to start to develop these things. That's my number one goal in how to help you help this state. And I'm always passionate about seeing the state of Mississippi improve. So before I finish, I have to say the next presentation, come on out here, Michael. I'm actually excited about, because Michael was one of the kids here that trained with us. And I don't think most of you have any idea what he's really been doing for the last several years. Okay. So we had to go up to New York and do a presentation at his facility, the John McEnroe tennis facility. The numbers that would blow, if we put all the money that all of us are doing at our facilities, it probably doesn't measure up to what he was doing at his facility. He's sitting there. Now this is a kid who could shank a ball anywhere. Now I go up there. He's hitting with John and Patrick McEnroe. How is that possible, Michael?
Because you coached me, you just forgot to tell me that I didn't have Dave's.
Okay, all right. But I mean, and people like Mike Barrell are working under him. So the amount of knowledge and the learning curve of sitting in the room and being part of what you were doing is amazing. So I'm actually really excited to hear what he has to say.
Thank you.
I just want y'all to know I'm sticking around to watch Michael.
Thank you, Walker.
Thank y'all very much.
William, are we breaking or straight in? Are we breaking?